There is an excellent site sitting idle in Perth that would make a wonderful home for the Pictures in Motion Museum of Film and Television's incredible rare and historic collection. This is the former ABC Radio Production Studios that takes up 3 floors. This includes 5 large studios, 2 floors of office space, a vast lower ground storage area, a canteen and many other rooms that once comprised workshops and operational areas for broadcasting. In 1960, the ABC moved from their old radio studios at Broadcast House, in the Supreme Court Gardens in Perth, located next to the Government House Ballroom, to new state-of-the-art facilities in Adelaide Terrace, which extended through to Terrace Road. This coincided with the introduction of ABC television to Western Australia. The Perth ABC TV studios were built on the same land as ABC Radio, that being the part facing Terrace Road. The 1.2874 hectare site comprises 6 ABC-owned buildings, with a gross floor area of approximately 13,500 square metres, and was situated 1.5 kilometres from the Perth GPO. These studios served the ABC in Perth from 1960 until the move to Fielder Street, East Perth, in 2005. The ABC left their former site in Adelaide Terrace for a number of reasons. Broadcasting was entering the digital age, and the infrastructure at the old site was analogue. Another important factor was that staff was spread over the large site, between 6 separate buildings. In comparison, the new studio site is more compact, which caters better for a shrinking workforce, and thus the need for greater efficiency. The ABC commissioned a heritage assessment of their former site by the National Trust of Australia, WA, in November 2005. Emeritus Professor John Stevens at Curtin University completed the report into the ABC Sound Broadcasting and Television Studios in Perth, 1960, in 2007. The old buildings were occupied until 2005, when the new studio complex was constructed in East Perth. The old buildings covered the site between Adelaide Terrace and Terrace Road, with the radio buildings located at the front of the site, and the television building at the rear on Terrace Road. A large antenna was located on the roof of the television building, situated along Terrace Road. In 2010, the television buildings were demolished to enable building of 3 high-rise residential towers and 3 low-rise apartment buildings on the site. The administration and radio buildings, located along Adelaide Terrace, were retained, although the on-air broadcasting studio section of the radio building was demolished along with the former radio carpark. Hence there are no remnants of the on-air studios remaining, as sadly the heritage recommendations related more to the building's afterlife than the daily broadcasting history that took place within those walls.
And as I've said over and over, may God bless you.
You ask, am I playing the Swans theme song on the breakfast session on 6WF, when, as you all know, I've been an East Perth supporter for many years.
Before the ABC sold the site, the National Trust of WA and the WA Symphony Orchestra had made a bid for the site to be listed on the National Heritage Register, to allow the orchestra to move back into its purpose-built facilities. The then Culture and the Arts Minister Sheila McHale said the government would consider providing $8 million towards an upgrade for the building, funding originally allocated for the purpose in 2001. As reported by Hansard on September 4, 2007, the National Trust of Western Australia had been seeking to acquire the former ABC premises to establish a combined commercial and arts precinct that would provide for a sustainable heritage future for the people of this state. In 2008, the South Perth-based property developer Finbar Group Limited signed a joint venture agreement with the subsidiary of a Singapore-based company to redevelop the former ABC Studios site on Adelaide Terrace. Under the deal, Ventrade Australia Party Limited bought the 1.3 hectare site from the ABC for $37.6 million, while Finbar acted as developer, and contributed 1/2 of the land value, about $19 million, as working capital. In 2009, it was announced that the former ABC studios in Adelaide Terrace will be restored, and 3 residential towers built around them, under a $450 million plan, revealed by developers. In 2010, the minutes of the Perth City Council's Planning Committee reported that, prior to any commencement of development, the owners of the land must enter into a heritage agreement with the Heritage Council of Western Australia and the city. It was also emphasised that the works to the heritage buildings, under the heritage agreement, must be completed prior to the occupation of the northern portion of the site. Though the result so far has been a wonderful restoration of the building entrance and lobby, it's unfortunate that the area where the former on-air studios exited has now been reduced to a taddy barn, with the entrance to the Basil Kirk studio very much defaced. In 2010, the Western Australian Symphony Orchestra indicated that they would prefer a home in the concert hall precinct, rather than their former home, since 1960, in the historic ABC building. The City of Perth's Development Assessment Panel members voted unanimously at a meeting to move a recommendation that Finbar's proposed development should be refused, as they had wished to demolish the heritage-listed former ABC administration building. In return, Finbar had proposed to conserve the $8 million Basil Kirk studio and gift it to a trust, as well as spend $1 million to refurbish it and create 4 studios for WA's performing arts and music community to use. This was an unfortunate outcome, as Finbar had proposed to compensate for the demolition of the administration building by creating a separate lot upon which the studios are sited, and transfer that lot, either by freehold or survey strata subdivision, to an appropriate community body for a nominal consideration. The National Trust had advised them that it would accept the gifting of the premises for ongoing use as a public facility where various educational and arts bodies would be able to utilize the restored studios in a way that conserves the heritage significance of the place. Sadly, that did not eventuate. Here is how the story unfolded. In 2008, the former ABC studios on Adelaide Terrace had become the focus of a tussle between aspirant tenant, the WA Symphony Orchestra, and the ABC. The Heritage Council of WA announced that it was placing the 1.3-hectare site on the state's interim heritage register, a move supported by the City of Perth. However, the ABC was intent on selling the site and had expectations that it would fetch $60 million, which later proved to be unattainable, with the site finally being sold for almost half that. When the former ABC Perth studios on Adelaide Terrace were closed in 2005, the WA Symphony Orchestra was left without offices and rehearsal facilities, and insufficient room available at the Perth Concert Hall for their whole team. It was for this reason that the orchestra took a keen interest in ways to keep a roof over their heads. When Finbar's plans to demolish the former administration building were refused, they put forward a number of alternatives, whilst arguments raged over the height of the proposed concerto apartment tower. In 2018, once the dust settled, Finbar took full ownership of the remaining elements of the former ABC radio production studios, now referred to as the Harmony site. The apartment developer said it acquired its now former joint venture partner Ventrade's share of the site for $4.5 million. The former ABC Studios building situated at 187 Adelaide Terrace, East Perth, was then offered for sale in 2021. The site then hit the market, but so far seems to be unsold. Now would be an excellent time for the present government to finance the acquisition of this heritage-listed site, so that the National Trust can manage it for not-for-profit groups, who could utilize the facilities for the public's benefit. There would be ample room for pictures in motion and a number of arts groups to bring life back to this unique site. Continued hesitation and lack of action can only put all these valuable notions in jeopardy. Meanwhile, the Perth Concert Hall is getting a makeover estimated to cost $150 million, with the state government contributing $134 million, with an additional $12 million from the Australian government and $4 million from the City of Perth. This will provide a permanent home for our world-class West Australian Symphony Orchestra, with the bulk of the money coming via the department responsible for tourism, culture, and the arts and heritage. The same department responsible for the Sunset Heritage Precinct, where unfortunately, the Pictures in Motion Museum of Film and Television, which has resided for the last 12 years, must now leave by November 2024. Hence the thought that if the heritage-listed former ABC building can be preserved and available for use by community groups, then hopefully the Film and Television Museum can be extended a lifeline. It's a big site, with room to accommodate a number of such groups, who can contribute much to the city's culture, history telling and heritage preservation, making it a wonderful attraction for tourists, enlightening one and all on important matters that can impact the residents, visitors, students, and all interested parties.